Welcome to Absolute Trust Talk with your host, Kirsten Howe. Absolute Trust Talk brings you tips, tools, advice, and interviews to help you build a reliable knowledge base on estate planning, business, and finance to start preparing for your future today.
Madison, what is your favorite Cher song?
If I Can Turn Back Time.
Oh, that is a good one. I might have chosen that one too, except I have Cher's new Christmas album. And so now I have to say my current favorite Cher song is DJ Play a Christmas Song.
I have to say, I heard that at your house at our Christmas party. And I was like, what is this? And I didn't know Cher had a Christmas song.
I know. She does. Finally, after all these years, she finally put out a Christmas album. Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Absolute Trust Talk. I'm Kirsten Howe here with Madison Gunn. And you might have guessed from that opening that we're going to be talking a little bit about Cher today. And the reason is we've had a sort of a slew of celebrity conservatorship cases that have been in the news, and Cher is involved in one of them. And since we've talked about two others, we felt that we needed to talk about this one. Madison, get us started with the basics of this case.
Yeah. So the last two we talked about were conservatorships for dementia. This particular conservatorship is Cher filing for a temporary and permanent conservatorship over her son, Elijah Blue Allman, which is her son with Greg Allman, I believe her second husband, maybe after Sonny. And she is doing that because she is concerned about his addictions and that he can't manage his finances and or is going to be a danger to himself because there is a distribution that's going to be made from his father's trust to him, and that she's worried he's going to buy drugs with that money and kill himself, essentially. So she's worried about that. So she's filing for a conservatorship so she could take control over that money, which is not a significant sum of money in the grand scheme of Cher.
You're right. It's like $120,000 a year, which is not nothing, but it would buy a lot of drugs, and Cher wants to protect her son. So it is a little bit different from the other two conservatorships that we've talked about. Those were based on dementia, and those were conservatorships for the purpose of doing estate planning for the person with dementia. The proposed conservator wanted the conservatorship in the case of Brian Wilson so that they could do a new healthcare directive, and in the case of Mavis Leno so that her husband Jay could do a full estate plan, a trust, a will, stuff for her. This is different. This is a conservatorship where we're trying to take control of the money in order to protect the person from themselves.
Yeah. And it's also different in the sense that he is not agreeable. Elijah Blue is contesting the conservatorship and says that he does not need one, that he has capacity. He is not a danger to himself. He says he has money and he can go buy his own drugs and doesn't need the distribution from his father's trust to buy drugs. So that's not a concern. There's a lot of other family drama involved, and he is married and all of that. So there's other kinds of drama involved. So who knows what's going on really, but that's what is in the filings.
Okay. Yeah. And so that is different as well, in that the proposed conservatee is actually actively opposing the petition, whereas Mavis Leno and Brian Wilson are not doing that. So their petitions are more likely to be granted relatively quickly. This one, if there's opposition, that's got to be resolved somehow. And that takes time and attorney's fees. So, we'll keep you posted. But we aren't talking about this just for funsies. It's here that we're talking about it because there's an estate planning lesson to be gotten out of it. That's why you're here watching us. Yes. That's why we're doing this, is we want you to learn and benefit. Madison, what would you say is the lesson here?
Yeah. So the big lesson is this is all stemming from a distribution from Greg Allman's trust. So he had a trust, which is great because he had 7 wives and 5 kids. So, it's a good thing that he had a trust, and he passed away in 2017. So we're pretty sure he is aware that his son either had a drug problem or was predisposed or could have, or there was a possibility his son had an addiction problem, and his trust could have had provisions in it for this possibility, and it did not. So the lesson is that if that is a consideration for anybody's children, you can make the trust say that. You can have those provisions in there in case there is an addiction problem or that money needs to be held in trust. Or if you know that that money needs to be held in trust for somebody, you can set that up in advance.
Right. And in his defense, Greg Allman's defense, we're talking about $120,000 a year. It might be that it says $10,000 a month. We don't really know, but that's one way of kind of managing the money from the grave. But as it turns out in this case, it's not effective enough. You can do more. You can control the inheritance much more tightly if necessary.
And it's a lot easier for the trustee to have discretion to be looser with the money than it is to give the trustee discretion to be tighter. Like there's a lot more litigation involved if all of a sudden the trustees like arbitrarily like, you know what, nope, I'm going to hold on to your money this year because you have a problem. It's a little bit easier if they're allowed in the document just to hold on to it. But then they're like, oh, I'm going to be nice and give it to you.
Right.
If it's the other way around, it's a little bit easier less litigious.
Right. All right. So that's your estate planning lesson of the day. Just plan ahead. If you need to protect your children, you can do it in your own planning.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Absolute Trust Talk Live. If you enjoyed listening in, then don't forget to subscribe. You can find us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you may listen by searching Absolute Trust Talk. While you're there, we would also love for you to leave us a review. And then why not share your favorite episodes with family, friends, or colleagues too? You can find all of our shows and corresponding show notes by visiting absolutetrustcouncil.com. You'll also find a variety of other free resources, including our ebooks, videos, blogs, presentations, and more. If you need help with your estate planning or administration, we also offer a free discovery call to help get the process started. You can find more information on booking your session by visiting absolutetrustcouncil.com/scheduling. If you join us for the broadcast, you can submit questions during the show. But if not, don't worry. You can always get in touch with us by sending a quick message to info@absolutetrustcouncil.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you soon.
This podcast is not meant to take the place of legal advice from an attorney and does not create an attorney-client relationship. If you do have a legal question or issue, please consult with an attorney.